Hey now. Um, so I'm a little bit bummed out about still something that happened to me a week ago, and I just want to share it because I would like to get your guys' thoughts on this. But about 2 weeks ago, I approached this girl at the store that I thought was cute. So I saw her there. She looked really good. She had the curly hair. She had that body shape I liked. She looked Latina. I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm gonna go over there, just say hi, make a quick conversation, and see if maybe there's possibly anything there. So I ended up doing that. Her and I ended up chatting there at the store for a little over 10 minutes, it seemed, for quite a bit. So we were there talking. I asked her at one point during the conversation how old she was, and she told me she was 22. So I was like, oh, okay. And she was working. She had already finished college. So I was like, awesome. We exchanged numbers. I followed up with her through text. We were texting back and forth. And of course, I was working my way up to asking her out. And when I did, she responded back asking me how old I was. So I just told her that I was 32 years old. That's how old I am. Not going to lie about it. And then she responded saying that seemed too old for her, and she wasn't interested in a guy that was 10 years older. And so she just said sorry, and that she wasn't going to accept the invitation. And I understood that was her preference. Okay, not going to, got to respect it, not going to be upset about it, but I was bummed out. It's happened before already. And I was like, man, like, is this just the reality now of dating at 32 years old? That I'm just going to be encountering this a lot more often. And yes, obviously, I think the answer is yes. This is what's going to happen. So I asked around to other people what their thoughts were on the situation, to some of my friends and some of my friends' friends. So was hanging out with people, asked them their thoughts on it, told them why I was bummed out. And some people that I was hanging out with, because I have some friends that work in a very liberal environment, and so they hang out with other liberal people, and I was invited to hang out, and so I was like asking some of the girls there their thoughts on this. And what I thought was interesting was that the girls were like, "Oh yeah, that's too big of an age gap." Like, no, that's too much. Like she hasn't matured yet. She's not fully conscious. So she's not consciously there yet to be where she could be dating a guy your age. So if you did do that, there would be a weird power dynamic, and you would be the one that would be the sole responsible party in that relationship, because you would technically be manipulating her. So these were their thoughts, and I thought this was interesting. And then, I looked up online to see if that was the case, if what they were saying was true. And apparently online, there's this age gap equation, which I didn't know about. But it was basically to find the lowest age that you should be dating is you take your age, you divide it by 2, and then you add 7. Now, I'm not saying this equation is correct. But what the people there were telling me was that you shouldn't date anyone younger than 28 or 27. And I was like, wow, okay. That seems, pretty restrictive, right? Like, we're taking out a lot of people. I feel like now someone 26, 25, 24 is too young. Doesn't seem young to me for me to date, but to them it was like, oh yeah, no, that's too young. So I was like, okay, so I did the equation, and the equation for me, since I'm 32, comes out to 23. So I was like, well, according to online, to this age gap equation that a lot of people have put their input into, seems like, she was not that far away from the appropriate age range for me. And they, of course, didn't like the equation, and of course said that the equation was wrong. But yeah, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts. I mean, would you be bummed out? What do you think about that? What I do think is interesting about this, I'm just going to state an observation, because I don't want to come off like I'm telling you like something out of. I just want to state an observation. I'm not trying to sound like I'm angry here or anything like that. But what I think is interesting is that in the liberal group, in that liberal environment, it's like, okay, hey, if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, you want to change your sex, that's cool. hey, we should support that. Let's start getting getting you the medications, surgeries, all that, right? Then when someone's 18, they can join the military. If someone's 21, they can drink alcohol, and in some states, buy weed, buy cigarettes. If they want to start having plastic surgery, they can start doing that at 18. If they want to start having tattoos, they could do that at 18. Okay, cool. They could do all that. But then when you talk about dating, like obviously I'm pretty sure that if I said I'm going to date a girl that's 18, right, a lot of people would be like, from that party specifically, they would just be like, oh, whoa, that's wrong. That's just, no, I'm not for that. Like everything else was okay. Everything else they can pursue, they can do, but like that, and it doesn't have to be 18. Let's say 21, right? So dating someone 21, and I still think they were like, whoa, no. Like that's way too young. That's wrong. That shouldn't happen. And so where do we draw the line in this? Because it's right in my opinion. Like if I'm liberal, I'm saying I'm looking at the individual, the pursuit of freedom that the individual wants to go for. Like what do we respect on the individual level? So it just seems like, okay, well, it's their body, their choice. So why not date that guy if they wanted to, right? As long as it's legal and in that range. But doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like what I encounter when I talk to people and I ask about this, people do get very, I've noticed, emotional or upset about this, and it's not the purpose. It's just an observation, but I notice that people, when they want to give their input on this, depending who you ask, they can sometimes get very emotional about it, and the conversation can then go one way where you don't expect it to. So nonetheless, I was bummed out. Yeah, I was. And I don't think I'm a bad guy for being bummed out, okay? I had a genuine conversation with someone. Seemed like there was something there that possibly something could have turned out to happen, but I'll never know now. And so, yeah, that does bum me out. Now, next topic. Last thing I want to share with you guys is I'm living in this studio apartment because I had originally moved to Houston, or I originally came to the center of Houston for a specific job opportunity. And I'll talk about this more another time, but the job opportunity didn't work out. Decided I was really not a good fit for it, and so I wanted to leave. And so shortly after getting this apartment, I left the job. And so now that I'm here, I feel kind of alone. And I've been in Houston. My mom and my brother were living here for a while, but they just recently moved back to our hometown, which is Phoenix, Arizona. And when I went to the wedding, my friend's wedding, who I hadn't seen in a while, which I discussed a little bit in the previous episode, it kind of, seeing all my old friends from college, it just made me miss home. I wanted to go back there, see all my old friends, hang out with them more, and be back closer to not just my mom, my brother, but all my extended family. And although I've been here in Houston for a while and I've made some great friends, it just doesn't feel like home, right? You just know when a place just doesn't feel like the place that you're going to settle in. And maybe that could change. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll meet someone that will make me want to stay here. I don't know. But what I will tell you is that my current plan is to cancel my lease early and to move back to Arizona while I try to work on finding a new job. And my grandparents, so my mom's parents, have been kind enough to offer me a room to stay in. So they have an extra room. They have like a little guest casita at their place, but they live in the very south of Arizona. Specifically, they live in San Luis Rio Colorado, Mexico. So this would be at the border town with Yuma, Arizona, and they would be on the Mexican side. And so I'll be staying with them. And look, it was such a great offer. I'm actually I'm jumping on the offer. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go there. But I had these memories sort of come up in my mind about my grandpa. Because my grandpa, he's a very frugal guy. He's one of those old-fashioned guys. He grew up really poor, extremely poor, where they didn't have much to eat sometimes. Sometimes the family starved. I mean, his upbringing, it was brutal when you hear stories about it. But he's just a really frugal guy, and he watches every penny he spends. And this memory that came to me was when I was a kid. I must have been about 9 or 10 years old. I was with my grandparents, and we stopped by a gas station to get something to drink. And of course, in this area, it's always hot. You're in the middle of the desert, so it's usually hot most of the year. And so we were thirsty. We had done a drive around the town, and we were at the gas station looking to get something to drink. So my grandma stayed in the car. My grandpa and I went inside into the gas station, and my grandpa went to the soda machine, and I looked around at the stuff that was in the fridge. And I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Like, I loved Spider-Man when I was a kid, and I had about 5-6 different action figures of Spider-Man. I had Spider-Man t-shirts. I had Spider-Man costumes, so I had like a mask I would wear. I had all sorts of Spider-Man stuff. I would watch the show. I was a huge fan. And so in the fridge, when I'm there at the gas station, they have a drink, a Spider-Man drink. And it's just like a plastic bottle, like a water bottle, but it's filled with juice. And at the top, where the lid would be, it's like half a Spider-Man. So it's like a little plastic Spider-Man that has his arms like this. And then the little suction, I don't know, the thing that, you know what I mean? You're going to drink out of the water, right? And there's a little like thing that pops out and allows the liquid to flow out. So he has that on top of his head. And I'm like, well, I want that drink because I like Spider-Man. So I take the drink to my grandpa. He looks at it. He goes to where the drinks are, sees that the cost is like $3. And he's like, no. He's like, you're not getting this. You're going to get a drink from the soda machine because that's cheaper. It's $1 there. And I was like, no, I want the Spider-Man. And he was like, no, you're getting a soda or a drink from the soda machine. And I was like, no, I want the Spider-Man. So this went back and forth until my grandma came into the store, asked what was going on. My grandpa told her, and my grandma was like, just get him the drink. Just get him the Spider-Man drink. Let's go. He wants that. Just get it to him. Just get it for him. So he buys it. He finally submits because, you know, kids hardly do. They're stubborn. And I was a stubborn kid. And we're leaving the store. We get in the car. We're driving. And all my grandpa can do is complain about how he had to buy the Spider-Man drink because it was very costly. It was $3 instead of the $1 soda machine. And then a few days later, my parents arrived to pick me up, and my grandpa was still talking about the Spider-Man. He even told my dad, he was like, yeah, he picked the Spider-Man, and we had a whole discussion about this, and he would not give it up. And of course, my dad thought it was funny. Like, it was like, dude, just $2 extra. But that's my grandpa. Like, he's always been that way, very frugal. And that memory, like, it just came to me when I was thinking about living there with him now. And so my concern was, look, I want to be working. I'm going to be looking for jobs. I'm going to be trying to do this podcast. And I'm going to be inside my room with the AC on, of course, most of the day because it's hot. It's the middle of the desert again, so it's really hot. And I know that it's going to jack up the electricity bill. So I want to make sure that I contribute. So I'm going to pay the electricity bill while I'm there, and I want to help out with expenses. I'm not expecting to just freeload and not contribute at all. Nonetheless, I can't help but to think that even if I contribute or help pay for things, that my grandpa's still going to like look at the electricity bill and complain. And then I'm going to get upset because I'm going to go, I know that's why I'm paying for it. So I'm just thinking, I'm already trying to guess what kind of arguments or discussions are going to come up. And of course, I don't want to argue with my grandpa or my grandma. My grandma's so sweet. My grandpa, he's about to be 80 years old soon. I think he's 78, so he's 2 years away from being 80. And I don't want to stress him out that way. I know he's stubborn. I know he has his ways. And this is where I get to practice my people skills. And I have to practice, right? And I have to go, okay, even if he upsets me, I'm going to have to think about it, realize it when I get upset and not engage. But I kind of know the tendencies that my grandpa has. So I'm going to tell him that, hey, I want to contribute. I want to help. And yes, I'm going to have the AC on all day as I work inside on the computer. And then I'm going to have to explain what I'm doing for work and the technology and all that, because it's going to just fly over his head because he's going to see that I'm not outside working with my hands. And he's going to be thinking like, man, this grandkid of mine is really lazy. But no, I'm excited. I can't wait to be there to talk to my grandpa, my grandma. I haven't seen them either in like 8 years. I know I haven't been a great grandkid, but again, it's a little bit difficult to get out where they live. And I just think it'll be great for both of us, and it will be interesting to see what it's like now as an adult, or as a more mature adult, living with them and spending time and seeing how the interactions and the stories and the things I learned from them. So that was it. That was all I wanted to share. Give me your thoughts on whether it's a frugal sibling that you've had to deal with, or maybe a frugal friend, or on the age gap thing, on what your thoughts are. Again, I would like to hear from my audience, and I'm always open to new perspectives, and I'm just observing things and trying to learn and see where maybe I can make some improvements or adjustments in my life. But anyways, that was the episode for today. I'll be posting again soon, and as always, thank you. All right, later.